Okay, I'm gonna go through the different ad types today. I know you guys are familiar with some of them already, but sorry, give me 1 second. Making sure Matt's recording. Okay. So some of this will be under the documentation. I'll be adding some more for some of it, for some of the newer stuff. Let me share my screen. There we go. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So I have it organized here. We have over on the side, we have ads for display ads, slider ads, ad rotate, and we have another ad type that's called takeover ads that has like a template, but I'll show you where that gets placed. So I'm pretty sure you guys should all be pretty familiar with the display ads. Those are the print ads. If you ever need to add just a single one or update a single one, those are all display ads. They'll all be in here. I'm going to go through, have you used the bulk upload process at all, or is it pretty much the same as what you guys use already for the print ads?
Yeah, it works basically the same.
Okay, I'm just going to upload one file then, just to go through to make sure it's the same. But yeah, you upload, it can be PDF only, as it says. You know, you upload them all, say process ads.
Do we have to deal, or actually, I guess a question is, why are we still using the text file stuff?
I don't know what you mean.
Well, when we process ads during extraction, there's a PDF that gets extracted along with a text file that I'm guessing contains the same thing that's in the text found in ad here, and I'm just wondering why that step is still necessary. I mean, that still shows up on QC errors sometimes, and it looks like it's not even needed anymore.
I mean, that's not something I know about, unfortunately. So if that's a concern or a question, I would bring that to Jim.
I guess my point then is, all you need to import ads on a WordPress site is the PDF of the ad.
I mean, it won't pull text if there's not text embedded in the ad. So I don't know if that.
It wouldn't pull text out of the ad if, with the other way either, but the thing is it's doing it direct from the PDF in a way that we have a redundant process still going on in production. So, I mean, yeah, this wasn't something for you to address. I don't
know. I have no idea about any of that. So it would be something, you know, create a ticket in the system and assign it to Jim, who can take it to engineering and, you know, communicate that concern.
It's just another legacy thing that will never get addressed. That's all.
Yep, I would just, like I said, open a ticket up with it and, you know, make sure you have it documented if you guys have questions like that you want to address.
But obviously it pulls the text from the PDF.
Once again, with PDFs, if it was a flattened PDF, it wouldn't be pulling any text. It's pulling text that's embedded into the PDF. Yeah. You know, so that's just the same way when you have issues with extracting a paper when it can't find the text. It's the same thing with ads. So yeah, so you know, you upload your ads. If you type in the advertiser name, it should pop up, select the right one, or you're creating a new person, match the category. Same thing you guys are used to, you know, publish on, unpublish on, hit process, and it's going to process the ad. And there you go. If I go to the back end where we just were, and I go back to display ads, we're going to have all display ads, and there's going to just be a huge list here. Tim recently added in this column for the expiration date and time and the category, so hopefully that's also helpful to you guys if you need to find something or replace something or filter something.
Is he going to put a column in for statuses?
I mean, there's right here, there's a link where you can switch between all published and draft if you need to, if you want to only see published ones. So
scheduled. There's also a scheduled link up there when you have them.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, it only shows things that actually have content. So, but yeah, there's links right there that you can, it'll filter that sort of thing for you if you weren't aware. Because if we look at articles, they have the same sort of, if there's like drafts or scheduled or published, you can see you can see only the scheduled if you want to. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so with these ads, if you need to edit anything on an individual basis, you can see, you know, if you need to swap the picture out, change the place, category, any of that stuff, you can come in here and do that, change the unpublished date, or republish it. Something else in here is this bulk actions also has if you had multiple ads, you can select them all that you needed to republish for some reason and change unpublished time to the future. So you can do that in bulk now. I'm not sure if you guys have done that before or not. From here, you can also export to InDesign XML, which is for the pre-press people if they're uploading their ads in here first. You can also change the publish time in bulk. So there's a bunch of bulk options you can do there. You just need to click the little checkbox next to them to do that. Something I'm sure you're semi-aware of is that the place categories and the advertiser places, those are all under places. It's tied to that system, that directory system. So if you ever need to add a new category that somebody's asking or add a new advertiser, you would go to places. Place categories is where you would upload, you know, a new, trying to think of, retail, you know, and the only thing you just need to make sure is upload category icon for that. So I'm just going to upload a pin file for that. So I'm just going to upload that file. So that's all you need to add something new. And then you just say add new place category, and then that becomes available for the display ads as a new category in the marketplace. And if you go to places, I created that new Heavenly Touch that's now available in here as a business, as you can see. Any questions there on how those are tied together, or? And then, as you know, all the display ads show in /marketplace, which is where all the ads go. All the categories are in the drop down on the left here, so that's all tied together once again. If you click an ad, something new also that just got added a week or two ago is there's an edit button on this page now if you need to go find something and edit it quickly. So if you click that, it's going to take you back to that edit screen right here. So that's always good to know. Because it's tied to that business directory, if I click this, it's going to take me to the advertiser profile, which is once again found under places, and it'll have that active ad section for any ads that are active and tied to a business listing. So just making sure you guys all understand how those kind of things interact on the display ad section. For display ads, to place them, you need to go to the customizer, and there is a widget to place them. So we're going to go back to the front page. We're going to go into the widget sections. I'm going to go back to that front page, right sidebar. I'm going to say add a widget. And there is a widget called OHT add widget. So right there is what I'm going to select. And it's going to let you select how many ads to show, up to 5. And then also if you want to select a specific category, you can change the category right there. So you can see I have my ad over on the right-hand side. That widget can be placed anywhere. It can be placed in these other sections too, but I'm putting that one in the right-hand side there. Any questions about the widget or placing the ads?
is there a, in the old system, there was a visibility thing where you could have certain categories of ads appear on certain pages?
With these ads, there's not currently that availability. With the print ads, with banner ads, you can do that. If that's something you need or know somebody's going to be needing, I would once again open a ticket and assign it to Jim or whoever, or engineering, whoever's going to need to do that and improve that project. So you'll probably want to pass that through Jim first.
Yeah, it wasn't anything specific. It's just something I remember from the old system.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, if it's something you know that you're going to need, or if somebody's using it currently, like, you assign that at times, just make sure you get a ticket in for that and get that to them.
Now, the biggest thing I think we need to add is being able to pick a run of print ad to go in the newsletter specifically.
I believe you can do that through, if you go to places, so if I go to Heavenly Touch right here, at the very bottom, there is a option for newsletter sponsor, and you would just check.
Does that give you the same type of analytics that a banner ad does?
Not the same as Ad Rotate. These statistics, I don't know. I'm not sure for the newsletter ones.
The only reason I mention that is because Jewish Advocate uploads, sometimes they're different ads from their run of print, and sometimes they're exactly the same. And I have to go in and manually place those in the newsletter every week. And it's just, code, elbow code, everything. It's the worst process, but it's what they want. And we're even doing that now on the Florida Weekly things, is anytime somebody wants a banner ad placed on their newsletter, you have to hard code it into the newsletter settings.
And that's most newsletters. That's not specific to us. That's just how newsletters work. Newsletters don't run script at all unless you are using a special system to do it. It's a security issue, which is why you have to add an image and add a link. That's kind of a standard newsletter issue across the board.
What would be cool though is if you could have like a module that would just let you use a short code in the.
That's not good. That, once again, short codes are like specific to the website. That could be something in the future, but yeah, adding the picture and the link is kind of just how you have to go about it with newsletters, because it's not running code from the site. It doesn't run any sort of code. So that's why, yeah, you can't just pop like a Google AdSense ad on there. It's not going to run the script that they require to show the ad. But yeah, statistics for like the on-site stuff is found under OHT. Where is it? OHT ads. There's ad metrics right there. So you can find some of that stuff over here. I don't know if that applies. It doesn't look like it applies to the newsletter though. But if you wanted it to be in the newsletter, yeah, you could go to the business place and say newsletter sponsor. And that works the same as it does on the Drupal system, where that's the only ad that's going to show unless you select other newsletter sponsors in regards to the.
Does that override the setting in the newsletter settings where you say you want 4 ads? To be
Yes, it does. Correct.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. All right.
So yeah, you'd have to select more than one. So yeah, that's right there. And yeah, just make sure you click update if you make that change. So. So yeah, that's just how those tie to the business directory, kind of right there. We have the widget. Are there any other questions on display ads, the newsletter stuff, placement, any of that?
Is the next topic going to be the business directory?
I was going to go into other ad stuff unless you want me to specifically move on to the business directory now.
Well, no, is it on the agenda for today?
Yeah, if we have time. Yep.
Yeah, then I'll leave the page to you.
Okay, so Ad Rotate. Who has experience with? I know Jack does. Chris or Terry, have you used it at all?
That's what I use for the Jewish Advocate stuff.
Yep. So I know they have kind of a specific thing for newsletters. I don't even use that, so I'm not super familiar with it. So Ad Rotate has 2 things. You create an ad, and then you place the ad. And there's some other advanced stuff you can do with it with groups. where you create groups and put ads into groups, which is similar to what you guys can do on the Drupal sites as well. So I'm sure you're familiar with that concept. With the ads itself, when you're in here, you have a list of all your ads. These are some sample ads they have. I'm going to say add new though. If you ever need to place Google AdSense code or another ad network, you can just pop it in this ad code section, which is why it's kind of open like this. If you're just doing a plain banner ad, over here on the right, they have code for basic examples. And what you would want to do for that plain banner ad is select this top link and just copy. Click it, and it copies the code over. Once it does that, all you need to do is update the link between these quotes. So always make sure you have the HTTP or HTTPS. And I'm just going to put like google.com in here for this example. But that's the only piece that you need to touch on the code. Always make sure you have those double quotes around it though. The next piece is uploading a picture, banner, whatever the banner is. If they send you a banner and it's really large, you'll probably want to resize it first just for speed, load times, that sort of thing. Sometimes people will send me like giant banners. Really, there's no need for that. So I'm going to upload a banner. And I'm going to use this one. I'm going to upload to the media library. You can see it's right there. It has a little check mark on it. I'm going to say choose banner. You said, yeah, if I click back up there, it's going to show. So there's my preview of my banner. And then if it's just a plain image banner like this and not like a ad network, you want to make sure you turn on click and impression tracking and make sure the status here says enabled. If I were to save it right now, it's going to tell me something's wrong with it because I didn't set a schedule. So just so you can see that, I'm going to say save. It's going to say there's something wrong, it needs attention. So I'm going to go back into my ad, figure out what's wrong. You can see the status got set to disabled because something was wrong. They don't want you showing broken ads on site. So make sure you change that back to enabled. And then you want to set a start date and an end date. I usually set an end date if I don't have an actual end date to just like 2030, something really long term. If you have an ad schedule created already that you want to use, you can just put a checkbox, check it off right there. So once we create this new schedule, that'll be available from the checkboxes, and I would just check that off. So now I can save and we could be done with the ad. I'm going to go back into some of the advanced features after we do groups, because as you can see, there's some advanced features for device type and that sort of thing. Those don't work unless the ad itself is in a group, being showed via group somewhere on the website. So if you were to just say computers and tablets, no smartphones, and put the ad up by itself, it wouldn't work. It needs to be in a group. Just remember that. The best thing you can do with ads is create groups for different spots and then put them on the site. Because once you do that, instead of having to go back to the customizer every time and place it over and over again, you can just put it in the right group. So I'm going to look at the front page. I'm going to say banner ad below slider. So I'm in groups here. I created a new group. I'm going to say banner ad below slider. I always try to make them specific. And whatever the max ad size could possibly be, you want to kind of set that. So this is a 27 by 90 banner. I'm going to set that.
Well, see, that's just a guideline, though. It doesn't actually affect the display.
You want it does if you're showing multiple. So if your banner is bigger than that, it can cause issues. So whatever your max banner size is going to be, you want to set that. So if you don't really, oh, go ahead.
If you load a banner that's bigger than that, it will throw an error.
It won't throw an error. It can just cause some styling issues. So if you don't have an idea, just make it gigantic, 10,000 by 10,000, whatever. It's really just the max size.
Is it actually injecting that into the code anywhere? The size you're putting in here in the spot?
I don't think it's injecting it, but like there's a box around, like an invisible box kind of, and sometimes it can cause issues. So normally you're going to have standard ad sizes is what I'll say. There's two modes we use. This is default, which just shows one ad at a time, and it'll randomly rotate as you click through the site if there's more than one ad that's part of the group. And then we also have block, which will show a block of ads. And the block size is determined down here where it says block size. So how many rows and how many columns of ads you want to have. I'm just going to use the, oh, go ahead.
I was noticing some of the styling on the site. Sometimes it seems like, you know, like right below the header image, they'll have a group of 3 things right next to one another to like group or something. Is it better to have those as individual widgets, or is it better to use the block mode like a 3x1 or something?
It depends on the situation. If they're selling a specific spot for the ad, so if they're selling spot 1, 2, and 3, you know, you'd want to have a different group for each spot. If it's a randomized positioning, then the block is better because it would randomly rotate, you know, what's in the 1, 2, and 3 spot.
Or even if it's something that's just going to be static, like some house ads or something.
Once again, it depends. If they're selling a specific spot, you want to group to the spot. You know, sometimes they sell that right-hand banner ad, like the very first spot, and then the rest are randomly placed. So it just depends. So it's always good to ask, you know, how are you doing your ads? Are you selling specific spots? How do you want, like, the more information you get out of them, the better. So down below here, once again, we have short codes if you ever need to specifically place a group or an ad in a spot, like on a page. You can use the short code to put it in there. Margin is just, you know, spacing, white space. I always put a little bit just in case above and below. Alignment, I think we have alignment set in some of the ads already. And then mobile support is if you want to be able to use different ads for mobile versus desktop, you would turn that on. Fallback group would be if you, sometimes, you know, they have what used to be called remnant ads, if you're familiar with those. A fallback group would be like, if there's no active ads in this group, show this other group instead. Like if it was filled with, you know, AdSense ads or some kind of fallback house ad, you could do that. Does that make sense for fallback groups?
Yep.
Okay. And there's another piece that is called post injection. I'll go through that after we do a widget placement. Post injection does not require placing a widget. It automatically injects ads into content or on pages. It can be used with the widgets, but it does not have to be. And then down below here, you can see where it lets me pick my ads that I want to put in this particular group. If I were to, I'm going to put my test ad in there. We go back to ads and I were to create a new one, just to show you, there would be now a box at the bottom that says if you want to put it in groups. So you can select the group / ads on both sections once you have them. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I just created that, so I need to refresh it so it pulls it into the customizer. And this comes back to if you are creating like standard spots that they're going to be using all the time, it's better to set up groups. So I'm going to go into widgets. We're going to go back to that main slider area. I'm going to say add a widget. I'm going to say add rotate group. And I'm going to pick my banner ad. It does not want to show. Oh wait, no, it's at the bottom. That's why. There it is. There's my banner ad. So I want to move that up below the slider. So I'm going to click it and drag it up below, right there.
Nice.
So now that spot exists, and I'm just going to publish it, and I'm just going to leave that group there forever if that's a spot they're always going to sell. If that banner expires or they disable it, you know, it's just going to collapse. It's not going to be there, even though the widget is still there. And then when you add a new banner to it, it would reappear. So that makes it, you know, easy to place that stuff instead of having to come in here all the time and place ads and that sort of thing. So does that make sense? Do you have any questions on placing the ad groups or how that works? You can create as many groups as you want. So There's not really a limit there. If you wanted to place a single ad, you could, if it was like a special ad. So they have advert, which would just let you pick a single ad. But I definitely recommend the groups for most, like for consistent kind of standard placements. So yeah, so that's ad rotate. So the other thing, excuse me, I'm going to show you is if I were to create a group for ad injection, I say add new article injection. I'm going to say center. I'm going to pick my ad real quick, and then I'm going to use this post injection section. You can use it on pages too, but this is for articles. So say you want to have an ad inside the content. You're going to select the position from this post injection, and I want it after the middle paragraph. You can say select all, so it goes on all categories. They want it on all stories. Or you could even just say select one type of story. I'm just going to say select all in this case, but you could do category specific there, Chris, which was kind of what you were asking about before.
Does this kind of replace what, I don't know, we used to call them island ads? That would just kind of appear in the middle of content. Looks like this is the way you do that now.
Yep. So yeah, you can see it showing up in the content there. So that's how you would inject those ads in there. Does that make sense? Do you have any questions on any of that?
Yeah, this is going to sound silly.
No, go ahead.
when you set where you wanted to put that ad, I thought you said after second paragraph.
I said the middle paragraph, so
okay.
I don't know how it determines that. Sometimes those pictures will add like a thing that throws it off, but normally it's pretty consistent. So there might be some extra paragraph tags in here somewhere causing it to be lower down the page. But yeah, that's because that's like, this is demo content. But
okay, I just caught my eye.
no, yeah, that's no problem. But yeah, statistics, you can go in here and they'll have statistics for everything. As you can see, you can download different statistics. When you're on the ad page, if you want individual ad stats, there's a little link right there that says stats, and you can click that. I'm just trying to think if there's anything.
Would you mind touching on the weighting thing just briefly as well?
Can you say it again?
The weighting, if you did want to force the order of the ads.
You would create a separate group for each spot if you wanted to weight it.
Okay, then what is the function of the weighting in the ad itself then?
That's for how many times it shows, because right now it
I see. Okay, thank you. Okay, I gotcha.
So it evenly like distributes how many times it randomly shows. So everyone's showing, you have 5 ads, they're all shown 20% of the time.
Gotcha.
Yeah. If you were waiting in a position, you just want to create a separate group for that position. And then right here, like I said, with the groups, so if you have ads in a group, if you want to use this like device specific or operating specific option, you would have to place it in a group for that to actually function. Does that make sense?
What would you title that group? Like computer,
Yeah, computer only, tablet only, smartphone, whatever makes sense to you or you know where it is. I try to be descriptive when I add names for groups.
And so that brings up another thing, is that you can assign a single ad to as many groups as you'd like as well, correct?
Correct. And you can put groups in whatever positions you want to. I just, you try to create, so it makes sense, but you can put them wherever you want.
In there.
Huh?
They had newsletters at one of the groups.
It is sometimes if you guys want to separate them out, just because for stats. I know one of the things we use newsletter, but I know with the URL they use to track, so it just puts that kind of ad stat in that group. But yeah, so that's kind of how the ads, the groups and all that stuff. And this is for banner ads. I mean, technically you could use a print ad here, if you wanted to, you would just have to create it as an ad in the banner ad section. And it would have to not be a PDF. You need to make use image files. So it can't be PDFs here. Because this is code, if you ever wanted to add like text, you know, where it says like advertisement, you could add text like that. So, you know, if someone ever asks you that, you can actually type stuff in there, add styling, whatever you want to do. Do you have any other additional questions there with any of the stuff related to those ads? Nope, you guys are good?
Is there anything in the general info? I'm not even sure what's in there.
I think it's just about the plugin. So
Okay,
nothing, yeah, it's just about.
Oh, there was that one thing. There was something with WC3 or something that had to be toggled on when you're doing a setup.
Oh yeah, I think it seems like they fixed it, or maybe Jeremy turned it off. But it was causing some issues. But if you go to settings, I think it's under miscellaneous. If it is causing issues, you can turn it off. But I think they fixed it because it didn't cause issues today. So, okay, so I'm gonna move on to slider ads. Slider ads are like a built-in ad that we created specifically for a client, but a couple different people use it. I mentioned it yesterday that you turn it on if they want it through the theme.
Can you show us the customer that's using that? Can you take a look?
Sure.
Because I don't think I've ever even seen this.
Daily News is using it, and I think, I want to say the landmarks. I don't know.
Does it look like the article slider?
So the landmarks started using it. You can see right here. This is an ad. If I click it, it goes to, well, I guess they didn't use a website. Daily News also uses, looks like they're using pop-ups too. So they have one right here. You can see if I click it, it takes me to the website.
So it actually takes the place of an article in the slider itself.
It's, yeah, it's inserted as the very first slide.
Sneaky. Okay.
So the way those are created is you go to the customizer first, and under general options, you would turn it on. There's a checkbox right here to turn it on, as you can see. So we've turned it on, and it adds this menu item for slider ads. Say add new, and you can have one per slider. So every single individual slider can have its own slider ad.
And as you said, it just populates the first slot.
Yep. So all you need to do is you put your link in here, and you set a featured image over here. So whatever that ad is going to be, it's depending on the slider, depending on the slider style. You know, the big one is 3:4. The smaller ones are, or the other one's 16:9. So I'm just going to pick this random picture. Set as featured image, and then you can see they give you a unique ID for slider ad right there. So 192. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to publish my ad. I'm going to go back to the customizer. I'm going to go to widgets. I'm going to go to my slider, and I'm going to pop that code right in this slider ad ID spot. You can see it puts my ad in there as the first slide. So that is a slider ad. Any questions?
Are there any plans to be able to like put a comma and add another ad? Or are we just doing one for now?
One for now. I mean, if you get that, I've requested, you know, that we can update that, but it's not a priority right now. You know, it's not something that's high request. So if you get more requests like that, you know, definitely forward it to engineering. Yeah, also where you can mix it into the slides or whatever. So,
I'm sorry, was there an overlay identifying it as an ad?
Nope.
Really?
Yep, it's just part of the slider. Usually it's very distinct that it's an ad, you know, like if you look at this one.
It doesn't have like, you know, a headline and stuff.
No, yeah, no headline. It's just a picture. So.
Interesting.
You can link
And
to that ad, Jackie?
Say that again. What was that?
You can link to that?
Yes,
Would
it links.
Okay.
When you're creating the ad, there's a spot for a link to put a link in there.
And
So yeah, I'll just right here when you're in the edit, there's an add URL right there. So you put the URL in there. And then yeah, all slider ads will just show everything plus your ID.
But it doesn't actually. Oh, that would be nice on that page to show you if it's showing anywhere, wouldn't it?
I mean,
it's not. It says it's published, but you don't really know where it is.
yeah, I mean, I guess that's just kind of up to the user. You know, it exists, so I don't know how you would do that. So once again, something you can ask engineering if it's possible or not.
But you said that that engineering actually built this.
Somebody else built it when we were doing the initial theme, so
Gotcha.
but they're familiar with it. They've worked with it, so but yeah. So those are slider ads. We have another ad called a takeover ad, and that's built with Ad Rotate, and you would place the widget for it in this takeover ad spot.
What does that look like? I don't even know what a takeover ad is.
So we have a template which I'll send to you guys or give to Matt, put it on the website. If we go to the demo site, so you create the ad based on this template for the right sizing. And then you'd create an Ad Rotate ad with that picture that you see. And then you would place the widget in the takeover ad spot right here. So I'm going back to this section.
Is that kind of like what the slider ad's doing? It's taking the place of a story in one of the widgets?
No, this is on the sidebar right here. See where it says Joe's Coffee Shop?
Oh. Oh, yeah. No, I haven't seen that anywhere before.
No one's really using it yet. It was a request from one of the clients, but they haven't actually implemented it. But yeah, so all it is
How does that look if you resize the browser window?
so you can see right there. It's fixed. So if I'm sliding down, it's fixed. Like I said, there's a template that kind of tells you the different cutoff points and what it would look like. And I'll get that template up on the documentation and send you guys a copy. But yeah, so like I said, you would use the template to create the file, the image file for your ad, and then you would just create it as another Ad Rotate ad. And then you would just place it in this takeover ad widget spot. So you can see at the very bottom, takeover ad, you would just put the widget in here.
Can you do that with that slider ad you have there? I'd like to do it.
Let me see if I can find that ad then. So it needs to be like that specific size ad or it's gonna not work right.
For anything, I'd just like to see it's up there right now.
I think this is the right one. So this is the file I've made. I'm going to choose my banner. And you would link it to, you know, whatever you want to link it to. I'm going to pick a schedule, and that's all you need to do. So I'm going to save it. I'm going to go back to customize. I'm going to refresh so I can pull that new ad in. I'm going to go to the takeover ad widget spot. Add a widget. I'm going to use the single one. You can use groups too, but just for this example. I'm going to select my takeover ad. And you can see I think I picked the wrong picture because we had, you know, different templates until we got it just right. But
That's okay. What it did. But I just wanted to see how it worked.
You follow the template and then you just put the ad in that this particular widget area. You'll put it in that spot back there. So that is a new ad type that's available.
Now, if a reader wanted to click on that ad, would he see the full ad?
You would not see the full ad. That's why you use a template to make sure you get your content around the edges. If you click it, it's going to take you to a website. I linked it to Google. So.
Okay. I just wondered if it was clickable to anything.
It is clickable to a link. So it'll take you to whatever you link it to in the ad. So yeah, so that's slider ads. Let's see here. Display, slider, takeover. I'm just trying to think of, pop-ups. So I'm going to go to pop-ups because that relates to ads. If you say add new, so the way I showed you that the banner ads all have short codes that you can use, you can actually use this short code pop-up, and you would just put the short code in there, and then it would put the ad into the pop-up. So with pop-ups, you can see there's just a ton of options for how it shows up. So, you know, you want to put your code in there. So let me grab a code real quick. So I'm going to pick the test ad, grab that piece of short code, put that in there. And then you can pick a theme for how you want it to look. There's some different things that pop up. Effect type, you know, you can have it fade in, or there's a bunch of different effects right there. You can choose the duration. And then exit intent, you know, is if they're exiting, will it pop up? Over here, dimensions, you can pick what the max height and width is. You can also make it responsive where it's auto. I usually use responsive. And then down here with these options, they just determine how you can close out, how often it shows up. So you can see use the escape key, close, dismiss on click. Where's the one I'm looking for? Down here, you can put it on certain pages or posts. You can show it while they're scrolling. So if they start to scroll, it'll pop up instead of popping up right away. Just trying to, there's one for, I think this show pop up often is a good one because it shows one time for the same user, and then you can set it to not show for like 30 days. Because, you know, pop-ups can be kind of annoying. So you can, the often right here lets you kind of schedule how often it shows. So I'm just going to save this.
Could you list a particular user to not get pop-ups at all? Such as staff or ops?
You can show it for logged in or not logged in. You can't pick a role. Okay. So logged in, it's usually, you're going to want to see it. So if I go back to all pop-ups to get it to show, then the pop-up itself has a short code. So you just want to grab that short code, go to the customizer. I usually just stick it in the footer. So I'm going to put a footer, just put a navigation box in there. It's not going to show anywhere, you know, that code. But once I do that, it puts the pop-up onto the site. So that's how you put pop-ups on the site. So you can see there is a pop-up. Do you have any questions on, I mean, that's a really quick pop-up thing. That's definitely something I recommend spending some time trying out. You know, there's a lot of different options there. So, but that's, if you want to do an ad, the short code is the easiest way to get the ad in a pop-up. Because that way you also get your stats and things. You know what I mean? You could use like the image pop-up, but if you want stats, I would recommend using the short code one. Any questions there?
I'm all set.
No.
Okay. So I think that covers most of the ad specific things. Do you guys have any other ad questions that you can think of that relate to anything or that you run into?
I don't think so.
Okay. Like I said, with those ads, if anyone ever specifically wants an ad somewhere, you can always use the short code to put it like in a very specific story or something like that. Did you want me to go back into places, or are those pretty, have you used them at all with the business directory, edited a business directory listing at all?
I have not done too much of that.
Okay.
The only thing I've seen is kind of what you showed Southwest Spotlight here briefly.
Okay, so I'm just going to show you a listing real quick just so you can kind of see.
And just to be very like basic, places equals advertiser for us, right?
Correct, or business directory. So basically, if you're using print ads or display ads, you have to use the places/business directory. If you're not using display ads, you can choose to use the business directory separately. Up to you, up to the client. So, you know, one requires the other, but one, and then the directory alone does not require print ads. Just always like to be clear in that. Here you can select your category. I'm actually going to go into one with content. So give me a second. So yeah, here you can type some content. I'm going to open it separately. And, you know, it just has a bunch of different, you know, you got your
text that's pulled, like if let's say when we get a new print advertiser that's not in the database and we create it, is this paragraph text what's populated from what's pulled from the embedded off the PDF?
No, nope.
Okay.
This is a sample business directory listing that comes with all the sites when you create a new site. So after, if a site's about to go live, you want to go in here and delete anything out that is these ones right here.
But that text that does get pulled from the ad goes somewhere, right? I remember Southwest was talking about.
It goes into the ad under display ads.
But that gets shown over in the directory?
It gets shown on the ad page.
The
So
profile page.
not the profile page of the business listing, the profile page of the ad. So if I'm here and I go to the ad and I go to this page,
Yeah.
if I choose to view the full ad page right there, that link, then it would have shown it down there.
Okay, because I mean, I guess I've never ever actually deleted or done anything with the text that the system pulls from the ad, and so I just wasn't sure what happened to that because it seemed to be a big issue for Southwest Spotlight.
Yeah, it's on a specific page. It's not really on like the business profile or anything. So I don't know.
So we don't have to worry about how garbled that stuff is.
I mean, you guys are. I thought you guys checked it and tried to adjust it.
We have never done anything with that stuff. Not at all.
I mean, if you think if it's so garbled, it looks terrible, and you want to delete it, I mean, I would follow up with.
Well, I mean, in the past, the only use for it, at least as far as I understood, was identifying the ad. You know, it would scan the text pulled from the PDF and use that to match the ad in the database.
I mean, I believe it's sold as being SEO friendly, but if you think it looks terrible and it's just a bad situation, you might want to just bring it up with whoever.
That's why I was trying to figure out where if like even on Florida Weekly and stuff, I don't go through and edit that stuff. So if we go over to their site, is any of that garbled text there, or if they replaced everything with their own business profile text and stuff? This was just confusing me when I saw it in Southwest Spotlight.
Yeah, it doesn't show up on this page. It shows up elsewhere. So.
I mean, that's not something we've been told anything about anyway. So I didn't know.
Yeah, if you have questions about it, I would take it to Jim or Deb. So.
Well, I mean, if a customer hasn't mentioned anything, I'm not going to like rock the boat.
Okay. But yeah, if it's something that is a consistent complaint from someone, you know, you would just want to take it to them. as something to do something about or get rid of completely. I don't really know. So back to editing the places. Yeah, this is like information about the business they can fill in. You know, you pick the category. Normally you would be typing in an address, and once you have your address filled in, you would hit set address on map. I'm just gonna say 123 Main Street for this example. And it's gonna move that pin down there to like a accurate location. And that's what sets this latitude and longitude. And then, you know, it's just all the same fields that you have kind of on the current business directories. Video, you could upload a YouTube video link if you wanted to. Special offers is, you know, that sort of thing. And then any of these other fields here.
Do the customers normally maintain this stuff, though, don't they? Because most of the time we haven't been asked to do any of this. We just...
They do, but I mean, if you guys are going to be doing any training, you know, it's something you need to know for when you walk them through it yourself.
Yeah, I was referring more to production process.
Yes, they fill this in. This isn't something you would be filling in. That's correct.
Okay.
If they wanted to do a featured profile, I thought I turned payments on. Hold on. If they ever want to do featured profiles, which is something, just to show you that looks like Hometown Focus has turned on, you'd want to make sure Payment Manager is on, that plugin add-on for GeoDirectory. And once
That's
you...
From the subscription stuff?
Yes, that is separate. That is if you want to do paid things with GeoDirectory. So once I turn that on, you can see it allows for an expiration date, and you can say if something's featured. And I'll show you where that comes into play with the widgets. But if I go to their business directory on Hometown Focus, you can see if something is set as featured, it shows right here.
And that's something the advertiser buys, right? Not one of their papers customers.
I mean, yeah, the advertiser would buy it. I mean, the advertiser is technically one of their customers, so.
Well, you know, yeah, it was just interesting that you have the option for them to buy it there instead of going to the paper. But okay, yeah, all right, sure.
I mean, they're not buying it on the site unless the advertiser allows them to buy it. But you can tell them that if they're upselling advertisers like a featured spot, like that is where they would make that change. They would set it to featured right here.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And if they ever ask about being able to expire things, you know, they only want to sell business directory replacement for a year, you can set an expiration date right there if you really want to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's just I've never that stuff.
Yeah, it's something that doesn't always come up, but you know, sometimes it does. So it's not.
A lot of this stuff isn't something that we've come into contact with in production. So it's so much of this is really new. I'm just trying to stay afloat here.
Yep, I understand. Like I said, that if you're going to be helping with training and that sort of thing, you know, it's stuff to know and to point out. You always want to talk about how they can upsell advertisers in different ways. So newsletter sponsorships, featured profile sponsorships, ads on different pages, ads on different categories, ads in stories. You always want to be talking about that sort of thing. You know, all they care about is making money. So with those payment options, when you turn payments and pricing on, it adds a tab to the GeoDirectory settings area. And if you go to this prices tab, you can set up, if they wanted to sell like different things, you could add purchase options. So you can see like you know, for $5, they can buy a month featured sort of listing. So is featured, yes. So that's what they're purchasing, you know, and they're filling in their information for that. I know there's a lot here, which is once again why we have the sandbox for you, so you can kind of come around and play with it.
I'm just kind of wondering what the roles are. Is like, I mean, tech support versus sales versus marketing versus. I'm just trying. I mean, this is a lot of stuff, and I just wasn't quite sure that we were going to be doing all of this. It's just crazy. It's just a lot of stuff.
I don't know what the plan is if they're going to bring on a different marketing person. It's just when you're doing training for different things, if they have questions, you want to have some knowledge of it so you can talk about a little bit of it. So, so I hope that makes sense. If you have, more questions, you can about the roles and that sort of thing, direct that to Jim or the dev.
We've got a meeting after this.
Gotcha. If you do need documentation for GeoDirectory or help with anything, I've copied a lot of it over to the site. I'm going to be copying some more, but their website right here, just Google it. And they have, where's the documentation at the very bottom? So they have tons of documentation for their stuff. If you get lost or need to find something specific, you can just search through and you'll find details there. So, do you have a question, or were you saying something?
Oh, I said nice.
Yeah, so there's lots of documentation there if you need it.
I like documentation.
Yep. It's always good. Been trying to add some more. So yeah, this probably won't come up very often with this stuff. I'm just trying to show you that it exists, Chris. So, just so you guys are aware that it's there. If a lot of people still just don't care about the business directory very much. So, yeah, so that's the business directory. The events directory is the same platform, so it's very, very similar, and uses those same widgets. Like I said, the only big difference is it has date-related stuff on it. So you can see here where it has the event dates and the timing and all that sort of thing. Below it, everything else is kind of the same with the place, the fields, all that sort of stuff.
So, one showing, I didn't actually check the emails, but I saw there was a little back and forth with Times Record on some calendar stuff. Would you mind using that as like a quick example? I don't know if it's appropriate.
Yeah, of course.
How we can like.
That was, yeah.
Yeah.
So let me see if it's turned on here. It's usually turned on by default. And it is still on, so there's some sample events in here for them. And then I'm gonna go, if we want it to show on the front page, they were talking about having some listings on the front page. I'm not really sure where they want it yet, but
yeah, if you could just kind of show us some of the options for how to display event content, that's really cool.
Yep. There. So if we go to widgets, I'm going to just put it at the very bottom in this case. I think that makes the most sense. Yeah. Put it down here. So like I said, for GeoDirectory, anything that has GD in front of it is a GeoDirectory listing. There is a calendar. Most people aren't super big fans of the calendar because all it shows is a calendar with like dates. And if a date has something, it'll be highlighted. What I like to use instead is the events listing widget right here that you'll see. That'll load. And then I don't like this look, the 2-grid. I'll use the 3-grid. So layout has different layouts. So let's say we're just going to show 6 events in a 3-grid layout, and you can see it's going to show those 6 events at the bottom there. And it has some details and that sort of thing. Here, down here in the widgets is the other place where that featured option comes into play, where it says show only featured events. So if you only want to show things that people paid to have shown, you'd select show only featured events. And nothing in here is featured, so it's going to hide everything, as you can see. So same thing, like if somebody has a special offer that they paid to have on there, there's some different options to filter differently. similar to the article widget where you can select the number of posts. You can filter by if it's upcoming, today, past, all. So kind of date filters right there. So I'm just going to leave it on all because these are sample events, so there's nothing upcoming. And if you wanted to show a specific category, you know, if you had more than one, there would be an option here to show specific categories, but we just have it on all. What I will
A good way
usually,
of doing that was to have like use events as kind of like the umbrella category, and then
yep.
specific stuff
Yep.
like restaurants. And
But if they had a event for, if they had something for like featured, you know, it might make sense to have it on there. What I will usually do, and as you mentioned with the category, I'm just gonna pull this up. I will add a title above it. So if we go to, where's it, events, categories, and I'm gonna say view so I can get that URL right here. I'm gonna grab that URL real quick. Go back to the customizer. I have a text box right here, so I'm just gonna add a title for it above event calendar, so it goes to that link, and I'm gonna add the link to it using that relative link. And that will put that title right there, as you can see. And that'll link to that. If I click it, it'll go to that page.
can you do that in addition to actually having the grid showing?
Yeah, that's above it. That's separate. It's in a text box. So yeah, that's where all those events would be. And then I usually, there's a popular post one. I usually like to use the geo directory CPT categories, it's called. So if you have multiple categories, like if you have those child categories, it's going to show the child categories based on what category you're in. If not, it's going to show nothing. So I like using that one. And then something you'll want to make sure is not checked is don't filter for current viewing post type. You always want to filter for the current viewing post type. That means if you're in the business directory or the event calendar, you know, it's only going to show events. It's only going to show business directory listings. And then you can say hide empty categories, and it'll hide empty categories. So yeah, that's some of the widgets. On these particular pages, you don't need to worry about placing widgets outside of like the map. These will all be placed already, as you can see. If we go back to, I don't even think they're using the business directory here. So I'm going to go back to the other one. There we go. I'm going to go back to the business directory. This particular page is already pre-built. So where this popular places is, that's in this geodirectory content section, and you can see that's a widget. So popular places, and you.
Are those the default place categories in that box on the right bottom of the map?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's where those little pin graphics come in.
Yeah, they're the sample content that gets pulled in.
All right.
So yeah, so right here where it says layout, it's in list view. Once again, that's something you guys can change based on client feedback. You know, and this is only shown 5. Maybe I want to show 20 listings or 100 listings. You know, it's all based on how many they want to show there. If you wanted to have this one only show places, you could add another one that shows events. So if I say add, where is it? Popular post view. You know, this one could be events, and I could show 6 in the 3 columns. I'm not even sure if there's. So you can show it's showing the events now. So you can like kind of build different pages using these widgets. So like I said, that's something you might want to go in and kind of like mess around with. Just get familiar with the widgets themselves. So yeah, you can see hide if no posts, show current viewing post type. So like same sort of filters there. Sort by A to Z or latest. So like the most recently added, that sort of thing. So those are that's one of the main widgets you'll be using for GeoDirectory, plus the category one, and then maps. There's a map. You just want to make sure auto zoom is on. And like all of these, like I said, when you create those new sites, this is all kind of pre-set up. So it's just if you need to make changes to it. You don't have to build this page from scratch or anything like that. So I don't like build this page every time. It's set in the code to just auto create this page for you. Do you have any questions there? It's pretty similar to the business directory you're already using. It just looks a little different. You know, it has some more features. So. Questions? Anything?
I have an unrelated question, kind of.
Sure.
This is being recorded, but is your screen being recorded or just the audio?
It should be the screen as well. I think it's a video. So.
Oh, okay. So we can go back and watch this potentially.
Yeah,
later.
yeah, definitely. Matt should have those available. Also, like I said, we have stuff on the website. The GeoDirectory website has a ton of documentation as well. So, you know, make sure those are available to you if you ever need them to reference anything. I use them all the time when I can't remember how to do something. You know, I'll go to the documentation and look something up. So, right. So I'm sure you will too. Like, I know it pretty well, and I still don't know everything. So I'm sure you guys will use that on occasion, or ask engineering. You know, Jeremy's very familiar with GeoDirectory as well. Has done a lot of like custom tie-ins for it for all the other stuff.
Maybe another popular request might be polls. We haven't looked at those yet.
I thought I went over polls real quick yesterday, but if not,
I think I had to go a little early, so I may have missed it at the end.
Gotcha. Yeah, polls are just here. It's a plugin that you can turn on and off. So if it's not there, you would need to go to plugins and just turn it on. But yeah, polls are super simple. If you go to polls and you say add poll, all you got to do is type in your question and your answers and create it. You can expire it if you need to. If the widget is already placed on the site, it will just show the newest poll when you publish a new one. If it's not already on the site, you would go into widgets, add a widget, and it's right there under polls. So you would say poll, and you can see this widget is set to display latest poll when it shows the newest poll right there. If you want to add any styling around them, when you're on the back end, you would just go to poll templates, and you can add like a div around the stuff, or you know, a header or anything like that. You would just add it into the template, usually in the header section. So yeah, usually you don't need to touch any of this stuff. The only thing I ever do is add a header, usually. If you ever do mess it up, there's a restore default button right there, so that's always good to have. Yeah. Always a good thing.
Where do the results from a poll go?
Can you say that again? I couldn't hear you.
Where do the results from a poll go?
They will be, if you go to manage polls, it'll have stats. If you click edit right here, it'll show you all the voting numbers and stuff right there. Okay. So that's where the results would be.
Gotcha.
Yep, they'd just be all right under there.
That's a common question that we get from customers is, which email gets this and where do I find my email?
Yeah, actually, that was going to bring up the next thing I was going to request is, I don't know if we have time for it today, but I mean, we get all kinds of requests for like people managing their subscribers, people managing analytics, looking for results on this, that, and the other. And we, so I wasn't sure if that was going to be maybe part of tomorrow, or if that's how big of a topic that is.
Subscription stuff would be tomorrow. Site statistics would be something I would ask. I mean, do you guys have access to the stats website?
Never been there.
Yeah, I do. I don't know.
I know,
if they do
okay.
that.
So you might want to talk to Jim or Jeremy or whoever the right person is about getting them access to this site and kind of walking them through it if you're familiar with
I
it
didn't
enough.
even know this existed, so I mean, I
Yeah,
don't
those
mind
are-
referring stuff off. I don't have access to everything. It's just I didn't know how these questions.
No, yeah, of course. So yeah, no, we put statistics on every website, so we do have that data. If they ask about putting like Google Analytics or something on, we also can add that for them. That would actually.
This is separate from the WordPress dashboard.
Yes.
Yeah, I got you.
So so there is a PWIC section under the dashboard, but it's not something you can manipulate. It just kind of this one doesn't even have it set up, but it just gives you like basic stats. Like yesterday you had, 10 visitors and your top keywords or whatever.
Just some very basic stuff. We could go there, but the more detailed targeted stuff is over.
Yeah. If they need to know how many visitors they had in the last year, you would want to actually go to the statistics page.
Gotcha. Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, I didn't even know about that. Yeah.
If they said, hey, I want to add Google Analytics, you would go to all-in-one SEO general settings. And there's a box there down here somewhere for Google settings, and you need this UA number, and you would just pop it in there.
That's specific to each customer, correct?
Yes, they would set up their own profile, and they would send you that number to put in there.
Because that seems like a few things I might run into at, getting.
Yeah, people ask about Google Analytics all the time. Yep. What was I gonna say? I was gonna say something and you threw me off asking about the other thing. Oh no, you're fine. Something else. I think I went to Add to Any yesterday, didn't I? About social media. If they want to add more sharing options, they go to Add to Any under settings. Pretty sure I did that, but I will go to it again just in case. This is that share bar that's on all the articles.
Oh.
If you ever see it.
Yeah.
So you can rearrange what order the buttons are in. You can change how big they are. You can make them like smaller. If you say add remove, it gives you all the different social media options. So if I don't want Google Plus because no one uses it, and I don't want email, but I do want, what do we got here? Skype, I can add Skype. So basically every social media ever is in here, and you can adjust based on their preferences, or show them that this is where they can adjust based on their preferences.
That was called Add to Any. Okay, got it.
Yes, it's pretty, I think it's the same thing we use on Drupal. I don't know where the settings for it on there are, but it's a pretty popular system for share buttons.
Gotcha.
I think they've like cornered the market. Just trying to think if there's anything else I should go through. Yeah, PWIC gets set up by engineering. A lot of this stuff is turned on by default. So
And I think this is probably more appropriate for tomorrow's thing with the membership, but I saw a couple of emails go by on like people getting notifications when things are updated or when comments are posted to stories and stuff like that. So I'm over that tomorrow.
So for notifications,
that's kind of defaulted.
If somebody is self-service, if they write the story, they'll get notifications by default. There is a plugin called Better Notifications that you can set up custom notifications for, and it's under a menu item that says, where is it? Notifications. So you can say Add New. And to add a new one, you'll want to say notification for, and you don't want to say just comments. You want to find the one that says new article comment. That's the one you're going to want to use for comments.
Okay, cool.
You'll want to say who it's going to. So either it's going to a group or it's going to a specific email. You can make the subject whatever you want. And there's a bunch of short codes that determine what content is in there. And so you can go find short codes, and it's going to take you to a list of all those different codes. So,
but this is mainly to like keep the site admins updated of stuff that's going on the site.
this lets specific people know about comments. So, because if we're set as site admin and we're getting all those notifications, they're not going necessarily to the publisher.
Okay.
So yeah, so you can just find the short code you need in here. So I'm gonna look for comment, new comment, and I'm just gonna, where are we here? Comment short codes. I'm just gonna copy a bunch of those, you know, copy it all over, whatever. And then that would just be the email they get. So obviously you don't want all of those, but you might want like comments, author, email, date, and then content, and you know, a link to the post. So, you know, grab a couple of those. Let's see here, where's posts? And I usually grab post permalink is a good one, because that'll link them to the actual. And you can, this is like a customizable, you know, post URL. And that would, you would save that, and it would be sent to whoever every time a comment is added. But yeah, so they have links to document. There's a lot of stuff there. Comment is the most popular one we get requests for. So, you know, as long as you can send that out, just copy and paste. This is going to be the same across sites, so you would just copy and paste that. Does that make sense?
Some emails that I've seen come in of requests for things, and just make sure I've seen them.
Yep, of course. Oh, the other thing I was going to show you is users don't have access to. When is your meeting at? 2:30 or 3?
Whenever
We're done.
Oh, okay. I'm sure your brains are turning to mush right now. I'm going to show you Loganizer real quick. It's kind of the security thing. They don't have any access to it. And as you can see, if somebody tries to log in and they forgot their password, it's going to show. So if somebody forgot their password and they keep trying to log in, it's going to block them. It's going to lock them out. So they might show up on here.
Oh, this is great, yeah, because we get requests for people who've been locked out.
If that happens, you know, have them check their IP address. You can tell them, you can just Google, like, what is my IP? And there's a bunch of websites that, you know, you can check your IP address on. And just send them a link. Say, what's that number? We just want to confirm. Looks like I was the one that got locked out. Must have put the wrong password in. So yeah, after 3, you can change it if you want it to be more. So we could change it to 5 attempts. There's a default lockout time. And then blacklist, we don't need to worry about. The engineers take care of that on the server side. But if like somebody's in an office and like, you know, like they might get locked out a lot, you can ask them for their, say, hey, do you have a list of IP addresses you use a lot? You know, your home, your office, whatever. Send me a list. And then you can add it to the whitelist. And the whitelist means they'll never get locked out no matter how many times they try, because you know they're trusted. The people you blacklist are usually like, you know, over in Russia or China or whatever, and it's bots trying to log into the site. So yeah, asking them for their home and office IP, you know, and you can just add that in, especially office, like the newspaper office. It'll save you a ton of headache and problems, because they, you know, it's for everybody that's in the office. They're all using the same IP address. Make sense?
Is there a limit to how many you can have here?
Nope. I have one last thing I will show you, because I know it's a request that comes in, and right now you have to send it to engineering on Drupal. But you can do it yourselves on WordPress, and that is redirecting URLs to specific spots. There's a plugin for that called Redirection. Very simple right there. You can see redirection. Just make sure that's turned on if you're going to use it. And that is under Tools. So if you go to Tools, Redirection, and then you just say Add New Redirection and the URL that they want to redirect. You know, sometimes they even add URL or whatever. put the whole URL in there, and then wherever they want to send it to, you put the target URL in, and then you just say add redirect, and it'll add a redirect for that URL in.
This may be a little off, but can you use tokens in that, or does it have to be one specific source to one specific target?
So do you mean like wildcards?
Yeah.
I believe you can. If you click that little settings thing, you can do custom filter. This is a little updated since the last time I used it, but
yeah, I mean, you don't have to get into too much detail. But
yeah,
match
targeting. I'm pretty sure you can use wildcards in here. So,
okay.
If you're not sure, you can always find the documentation and just, get some extra.
Yeah, gotcha.
Everything is documentation for the most part. So yeah, you can come here and they have, some stuff you can do. So, yep. So I know that's a big question a lot of the time. So that's something you guys can handle now if people send those in. Well, I can keep going if you want me to, or we can call it a day if you're starting to drag. Up to you guys. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to go over right now besides subscription stuff. So
You have my attention, but it is Wednesday.
that's true. You guys have a busy day. I always forget that. So tomorrow we'll go over subscriptions and newsletters. Those will be the two pieces on the table for tomorrow. If you think of any questions before then, I guess just let me know and we'll add them to the list. If not, thanks for your time today. And
I did have one request that's maybe not quite something you may need to do for the meeting, but at some point, if you could put together kind of like a checklist of the setup process from kind of beginning to end, really, because one of the things I'm not really sure of is at what point we're ready to do which portions of the setups. You know what I mean?
Can you give me a little more detail there?
Well, okay, so
like which part of
so
process,
which part
I guess?
happens when, and like what needs to happen before we get the archives request imported? What happens before we import the the latest edition? What happens? How much needs to be done before we get back to the customer, or at what points do we get to the customer and show them stuff? There's a lot of kind of middle ground in there that I haven't been exposed to yet. That if there was some sort of kind of like concrete order of operations that kind of needs to be ticked off, and then to know when and where and what needs to be done before you do this.
I mean, I'll try to put a generic thing together, but there's not really any hard fast rules because it's going to depend on the client.
But the real big stuff, no, I
know. So usually, like what you send me when I ask you guys to set that up, I go through that myself and add some additional styling, and we usually send to the client just to get an initial feel for like the style. And then the next step is going to be like, what forms do you want? What, what I mean? It's following up with the client to like see what they want on the site based on like, because you don't want to copy all the stuff from their current site over if they don't want all of it. They're like, we don't want a calendar anymore. We don't want those forms. We want the, you know what I mean? So you don't want to waste your time copying their exact site over if they don't want it. So with that initial
I think Christopher just needs a general flow chart.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, yeah. So, like, I can tell you generally what we're doing, but a lot of the times it's going to revolve around talking with the client after you send that initial thing over and getting feedback and then kind of working based on what they tell you. I will do what I can for, some of the generic stuff. But like I said, with the prototype, when you send that over to me, I do some minor touch-ups and then we usually send it over because that's more for styling than anything else. So... But yeah, I'll get you like a generic checklist, but like I said, it's going to change based on the client and the required features and all that sort of stuff. So it'll be hard for me to account for every single possibility. Just
that's not what I was intending to ask.
Okay, yeah, no, that's no problem. So I'll see what I can pull together for you there. Anything else from anybody?
Thank you very much, Jackie.
You're welcome. Let me know if you guys think of anything or have any questions, or just bring them to tomorrow's meeting and we'll go over them then. So And Matt, I just want to make sure you're good on recording and converting.
Yeah, it looks good. We'll just leave this running for the follow-up meeting with Jim.
I prefer us not.
Oh, you want to
I
use
think
another call? Another line?
I think they want to save the video.
This isn't a training. Our follow-up meeting isn't a training meeting.
Gotcha. All right, I'll close this down. Yep, no problem. Talk to you guys in a minute.
Bye, guys.
All right.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Jack.